All right, here we go.
Yeah, come in like a bro.
Right. Hey, everybody.
People got to know we've arrived.
Yeah.
We arrived. We've been here.
We've been here.
We've been here.
Hi, philosophers. How you doing?
Everybody.
Fanta.
Welcome back.
Fanta? Did you put some vodka in that, or?
No, that's just Fanta.
Okay.
Fanta. I don't feel like drinking tonight, interestingly enough. Oh, I thought I had a COVID scare. It turns out I think I just have a chest cold or something like that. But yeah, every single COVID test I've had has been negative, despite my freaking out.
You know what? I want to say maybe about 3 to 4 weeks ago, I got very sick. I didn't get a fever, but very sick. Horrible cough, a little bit of achiness. It lasted for like 2 weeks, and I got like maybe 2 or 3 at-home COVID tests just in case, and they're all negative.
Yeah, we probably got
And I
the
was
same
like,
thing.
wanted an excuse for some time off, but
Damn it.
guess not.
Hey, Mike.
Hey.
Feeling.
We kind of
How are
skipped
ya?
the intro.
Yeah. How you
Right
guys
into
doing?
it.
Yeah, do the intro. Fondle your
Eddie's,
IPA.
Eddie's joining us remotely from Ukraine.
Oh, yes.
What's
It is smoky. Why am I glowing? What is it glowing?
So let's just jump right into the discussion.
Let's jump right in. I know a lot of people are wondering what we thought about this.
Yes. And it's been about a week now? Or
Yeah.
by the time this airs, it'll be about a week and a half.
Right. Yeah.
We recorded this on Thursday. What's the fucking date?
It is 303 day for.
Maybe we should put this
my-
out like tomorrow, seriously, because it's going to sit on the shelf and spoil. You know,
We
This is
post
like a-
every Sunday, Eddie.
This is like a
We
milk
have to have some
episode.
structure.
Go ahead and break the fourth wall without a warning. Why don't you? Shit. It's. I'm joking. But
We'll see.
no.
We'll see.
Well, fun fact: it is 303 day, which I didn't know. I'm going to talk like I knew. I didn't know. It's a day commemorating all things Denver, because it's a callback to their original zip code. Because I follow a Broncos fan page, and they're like, "Happy 303 day." I'm like, "The fuck is that?" But yeah. So it is March 3rd.
Yeah,
to
there
answer
you
your
go.
question.
There's your Denver right there.
Yeah. So
Oh, Fant. Yeah, Noah Fant.
Just
So,
saying, that
so-
was my little. I've never
So,
even been
Eddie-
to Denver. Yes.
well, you should go. It's a nice city. I'm going to let you give us a quick recap of the situation in Ukraine, because I feel like you probably are the most knowledgeable about it.
Yeah.
Quick recap.
Yes.
Quick recap.
Because
Quick,
I've been addicted. The reason why we have 24-hour news is because of the Gulf War in 1991. And I couldn't get enough of that. I can't get enough of Ukraine. I want to know what the hell's going on, because this is a superpower that is invading willfully another country, what George Bush called naked aggression, and then we go, Iraq's naked aggression into Kuwait, which is why there was a Desert Storm and the much vaunted sequel that occurred years later.
Much wanted. Yeah.
But yeah, Putin made up his mind to invade Ukraine, disguised it as a series of military exercises. Pretty much became apparent that was not the case. And here we are, day 7. And Russia may or may not have taken a city. The world's second largest army may have just taken the second city in Ukraine, the size of Texas. And one would think that, there were projections that they could have Kiev in about 72 hours. These are our generals talking. And here it is 7 days later. They're getting closer to Kiev, let me tell you. But all levity aside, there's a humanitarian crisis there. This is the real deal. Today, there was some shelling that took place, and they artillery hit a nuclear power plant. That's not really the thing you want to do. And it's just going to get worse from there. So what I'm asking...
Sorry, go ahead.
Well, what I'm asking myself is, what does a win look like for Putin? What's the exit strategy? Is there an exit strategy? Or do we just, there was kind of hope to leave some infrastructure, but now I'm getting embarrassed. We're just going to shell the place. And you see what Syria looks like? Well, we kind of get that idea.
Yeah.
How far do we get involved? We got the
that's the real
sanctions.
question.
He's not controlling the narrative in his own damn country. What does that look like for us? And kudos. And they're, kind of projecting, if you're the leader of Ukraine, everybody loves you, everybody respects you. as Vladimir Putin, what do you do with the guy? You're going to put him in jail? Well, he might not want to go to jail. He might put a bullet in his own damn head, or death by soldier. And it's like, you want to see the world really lose their collective shit. Wait till that guy dies. And it's like, there's going to be some spiritual repercussions. That's when, to me, that's when things get real bad. No, I think
it's become a PR nightmare for Putin, which should have been just a simple walk-in. I mean, he was expecting Poland, in
World War II Poland.
Exactly. It's like he walked in.
He believed his own press. It's like, no, these people love us. We're a strong military, and if they don't like us, we'll kick their ass.
I think it was. I think it was unless I think that was a good update. Thank you, Eddie.
Thank you.
I think that was
pleasure.
So we can get into it. I think one major thing everyone's kind of realizing is that Putin, I hope he's realizing it, grossly miscalculated the outcome of this. I think he saw America in Afghanistan. I think he saw a lot of passivity.
You could say that.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Passivism. A lot of just non-action from Europe, from the West in general, and he thought, you know what, they're not going to do shit.
Sanctions.
They're buying our
sanctions.
Yeah, they're buying our oil now. America's buying Russian oil now. They're not going to be very hard on us. And Ukraine was part of Russia 30 years ago, so why not? Let's just do it.
Mm-hmm.
And it turns out it wasn't that easy.
Well, and this is where, and Eddie, if you know answers to this, chime in, because I know you're much more knowledgeable. One thing that I've been trying to find out is the reason why he's doing this. I'm saying Putin because I don't even want to blame Russia, because there's already been thousands of Russians arrested for protesting it, not being on board.
Treason.
There's people. I was listening to a report today on my way home. There are Russian soldiers who are like, we don't even want to fucking be here, and surrendered on site, just surrendered. So what I was kind of confused about, and I've been reading about it, and there's really no concrete thing of why he wanted to do this. One thing I read was, I guess I'm not going to even try to remember the names. There's 2 regions in eastern Ukraine that apparently have a lot of groups who are separatists. They don't want to be a part of Ukraine. Mm-hmm. So at first... So I know Putin used it as an excuse, we're just going in to help keep the peace in these regions, which was bullshit. But then there's someone else saying he wants. Remember, he wasn't he part of the KGB?
He was
when it was still Soviet Union.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. So part of it was kind of the Hitler excuse, where he wants to restore glory to his country and take back these territories.
I have an answer, and Eddie, let me know if I'm right, because I'll defer to what I think the answer is why Putin wants to do this. Ukraine's been its own place. I don't know. They've been trying to get into NATO, and they're doing their own thing. They still have some corruption, but they're getting into it. But what it is optics for the Russian people. They're looking at this state that used to be part of the USSR, and now it's their own thing, and they are thriving. And now they're about to be welcomed into a worldwide, alliance. The better Ukraine does on its own, in general, the worse Russia looks.
Yeah.
Because now all the Russian people are looking at the Ukraine oh my God, they're doing their own thing. They're not under this tyrant here.
Yeah.
And they're doing pretty well. Why don't we start doing the same kind of thing? So I think it was a bit of optics where Russia needed to put them out. So that way, what do you think of that, Eddie?
Very much so.
Or all of the above.
It's a part of that. And it's the trick of, he's also worried about NATO creep. I mean, a lot of these states that were the USSR, you were forced to learn Russian in schools, forced to learn about Russian culture. They're going to NATO now. And Ukraine is a Russian-speaking country that they share similarities, if not the language. And for them to go, I see that as that's Putin's last straw, just getting absolutely nervous. He could improve his own country. And just say, okay, there's a reason for this. I can see we're imitating. We can put a nice face on Russia and hire a PR firm. Another thing is that there's a lot of resources. I mean, it's the wheat basket for a lot of Europe. You've got 2 robust ports in the Black Sea. So there's a lot of control and a lot of strategy in taking Ukraine specifically. But the thing is, they didn't want to be taken over. And that was
you mentioned the wheat. You mentioned the wheat basket. So Ukraine is pretty flush with wheat. That's one thing.
Very much so. Agriculture, Plus, it has access to the Black Sea to the south.
Because something that happened about a week after the official invasion, or when shit started going down, was China started relieving a lot of what do you call it? Not sanctions necessarily, but started being more favorable to Russia with their wheat and some of their agrarian. So not to say, hey, we support you, but hey, here's a little help, kind of thing.
Yeah,
I don't know if you heard about that.
The kind of maybe a little bit, but to kind of pivot to what, and not, I'm sure we're speaking to people who already know this. That kind of the problem with this too is now you have someone like China looking at Taiwan,
exactly,
going, okay, so can we do this now?
Yeah,
and that's where like I'm kind of mixed. Should we be more aggressive in trying to stop Russia from doing this for that reason?
Yeah.
Or or if we get too aggressive, can things escalate? Because that's one thing I was talking to someone the other day about it. None of us know Putin personally, obviously, but I feel like he's the kind of guy who doesn't give a fuck.
Oh yeah, 100%. And he has that advantage over us.
No, that's what I'm saying. It's almost like someone once called it the terrorist concept. If somebody's ready to blow themselves up, how do you stop them?
Oh, okay.
Like how do you convince a terrorist not to blow themselves up if they're ready to die?
Yeah.
And with Putin, I always say Putin.
That's
Putin,
wonderful. Keep doing it.
Yeah. Putin. I feel like, like if we're like, hey man, you're gonna lose thousands of troops in this, he'll be like, all right,
I don't give a fuck.
yeah, okay,
That's
fine.
the cost of playing.
Dude, what if this escalates? Like, what if civilians get killed? If they die, they die.
Yeah,
That's where how do you
always been Russia,
negotiate?
too.
Yeah, how do you negotiate with someone like that?
That's
Yeah.
Russia being Russia.
What I think finally ended the war, and I mean the Cold War, was Gorbachev saying, okay, you know what, I don't want to die. And I'm pretty sure a majority of Russians don't want to die. So even though Stalin and all them were like, they'll die for the motherland, but I don't think we should do that. So it's the mutually assured destruction thing.
Yeah, and there was this weird concept I had in my head because there's all these. If you watch the videos of him with his top advisors in that room with the really long fucking table, I'm not sure if you've seen that. It's kind of weird.
I saw it in that show Chernobyl. It was really good.
Yeah, that was a very good show.
But I actually had this
Very.
thought because, like, if you look at some of these guys' faces, you could tell they're just like, "Fuck."
Yeah.
Like what?
What did we do?
And it's been in 100 TV shows. I actually in my head I was like, what would happen if one of those guys just pulled a gun and popped him?
That's been the talk of I've heard on the radio today was people like, what if someone just offed Putin? And he got a taste of what he does to all those reporters that, disagree with him publicly.
Because I'd be willing to bet, not a lot of money, but some money. Like $10.
Okay. $10.
Maybe 100, but not my bank account. That if one of those guys stood up, pulled a pistol, and popped him in the head, that no one in that room would make a move.
Who?
No one in that room. There'd be a couple other fellas outside do that for him,
Of course, but then you'd solve a problem that's a bigger problem.
Yeah. There is a, it's one thing to tangent a bit about the whole optics of the whole thing is that and I heard it in the State of the Union a bit. They're not saying what I heard in the State of the Union more often than not was they're not saying that Russia is invading. They're not saying troops are invading. They're saying Putin is invading. I have a hard time believing that it's just Putin just doing it alone.
He's probably got his people.
And I'm sure he has a good support, and it goes into that, like, in that movie, The Interview, that if they offed him, there'd be another Putin in there. I mean, I'm sure he surrounded himself and even named a successor if he were offed. There'd be another one in his place. We thought the same thing when Kim Jong-il died. And we'd be like, okay, thank God, Kim Jong-il died. But then Kim Jong-un came in and it was like, not much different.
I think in my head at least, like if they did if one of those guys stood up and just popped Putin, there might be Putin Jr. coming in who's just as bad.
Yeah.
But at least that would alleviate the problem. I think it would kind of put a pause on all this shit because they have to figure out their own.
Okay, maybe, maybe.
Well, keep in mind who he surrounds himself. Everybody's ex-Soviet Union too. They remember those glory days with all this control.
Exactly.
So
yeah, it's true.
You can. There's people who if you forfeit your life, you can get away with it. So the same thing could be said about Hitler. There was a Tom Cruise movie made about a certain colonel who wanted to off Hitler, and there was at least an attempt. It was a failed attempt.
And they actually had the whole plan where there wasn't going to be Hitler Jr. taking over because they were going to install their new government. They're going to say the SS was planning a coup and all that shit.
That's what Valkyrie was Operation Valkyrie was the replacement.
But yeah, a lot of people are nervous within his own circles going, WTF, you know?
Yeah.
The same
'Cause here's the
WTF.
thing.
Imagine it being in that room. Imagine being just Putin and it's like, dude, we got the second largest military in the world and we can't even invade Texas. I mean, what the hell? What is going on?
So here's to that, because I'm glad that segues into it. Even if you are a Putin guy, you're in that room, you're all about Putin.
Fuck yeah.
You got to look at his actions and being like, dude, what the fuck? Because like, for instance, Biden has had his gaffes in his presidency. Lord knows Trump has said some crazy shit to where even his people in the room are like, come on, dude.
Shut the fuck up. Yeah.
So, because you look at this whole strategy, it's very, what is, I think you said it earlier, what's his end game? So he goes in, scorch earth is Ukraine.
Yeah.
And then he looks like an asshole.
Yeah.
Or he gets his ass kicked and goes back to Russia looking like an asshole. Like, there's no way he gets out of this.
Yeah. Whoops.
Looking like the good guy.
That's not the way it started off. The way it started off is, we're going to take it in 72 hours. We're going to have a new government. We're going to install our people. It's going to be a bright, rosy day for Russia.
We're going to suffer.
No
we're
big
gonna
deal.
Suffer
it's
those,
all good.
We're going to suffer those Western sanctions and, grin and bear it.
Yeah, it's
and,
like, okay,
we'll lose a little money, but whatever.
West is going to attack us. And to think, like, we're 7 days and they still ain't even in the capital and they're inching along. I mean, okay, everybody, your own people know you're doing it. You've got soldiers. This didn't happen in World War II where you got soldiers calling their mom, you know?
Yeah, that was amazing.
That brings a whole new dynamic. And it's like, but on the television it says that you guys are, no, you know? That's fascinating.
But even from the start, like, it's very, and I'm not trying to invoke Godwin's law here, if you know what that is. Godwin's law is any discussion or argument leads to someone comparing it to Hitler.
Godwin's law. I thought you said God wins law.
Oh, no.
Wait, how does God win?
Mitch.
No, Godwin's law.
Yes, the Hitler.
Yeah, so, but it's really much like Hitler, because with Hitler's case, he was demanding shit. What was the fucking, it was like the League of Nations at the time, were appeasing him, and he just kept taking until he invaded Poland, and they're like, oh, shit.
Right.
Yeah.
With this, he wasn't even like asking for shit or requesting shit.
Right.
It's just completely unprovoked attack. So I would disagree with you, Eddie. I think even from the outset, he looks like the asshole. Because you have, from what I've heard, and this is kind of anecdotal, these Russian soldiers who are surrendering are saying, like, we don't even know why we're fucking here. Mm-hmm. Like, that's not my point, is from the outset.
Yeah.
And Lord knows what kind of propaganda is going on inside Russia. But for the most part, it seems like everyone's like, no, you're full of shit. Because even he tried to pull the whole, like, we're trying to denazify Ukraine. And I guess there is some truth. I guess there's, like, a group of pro-Nazi people there. But it's like one group out of...
I heard about that.
It's like a small group.
Yeah, that lasted about an hour.
It'd be like if Mexico invaded the U.S. to stop the KKK. It's like, bruh, that's such a small group. Yeah, like, you know, like...
I want to clarify. I'm not saying that, you know... I'm saying Putin thought it was going to be easier and smoother than it is.
Absolutely. Okay, that's a fair argument.
He had much more control of the narrative, and by the time the dust settled, it's already done. You don't need to worry about it. We'll take the sanctions. We'll get over it. We'll start selling the wheat. That's not happening. So to your point, what's it look like now? You're going to get a pile of rubble. You're going to get, you know, and the world knows that. It's going to turn into Syria.
And just logically... emotion aside, if he did give a shit about his legacy, and I think there's all these rumors and theories about his mindset right now, but if he was a logical person, I feel like the logical thing to do would be just to pull out and give a half-ass apology. Because at least it's like, okay, I recognize what I did was wrong, instead of going down as someone who just continued killing people.
It's not his lives. It's not his inconvenience.
That's what I mean. He's not a logical guy. That's what I'm saying. He's not a logical guy.
It's not hard to see why he miscalculated it, partly because of everyone else's reactions to other stuff, but also, I mean, imagine he's probably surrounded by people that he handpicked,
cronies,
that were former Soviets, not only people that support him, but they're probably a bunch of just fucking sycophants that are looking at all this shit and just telling
because
him,
of him. The only reason,
right? And they're like, you know, hey, if I invaded Ukraine, invaded Ukraine, you think I'd win? Oh yeah. Of course, bro. Come on.
Yeah, who wouldn't take that bet? It's the second largest military in the world. I'd take that bet. You damn straight.
Even
That's
if they were wrong,
they're going to get their ass kicked.
Even if they're wrong, though, they're yes men, and they're still scared of KGB. And you know what happens when you tell them no? No is not an option. You don't tell. And there was a great line. There was a great line in Chernobyl at the end, like the last episode. Or whatever. If you haven't seen it,
I haven't.
Fucking get. I'll blend you the DVD.
Yeah,
It's like a documentary.
No, it's a dramatization.
It's like 9 on Rotten Tomatoes. That nothing ever gets 9. It's ridiculous.
It's as close to a perfect miniseries as I've ever seen.
It's very good.
But there's this great line at the end of it when the guy's like pressing to try to we gotta do something about all these other power plants because they might fail. And the KGB, well, not KGB, it was the interior whatever guy, kind of like the KGB. He says to him, why should we worry about something that's never going to happen? And the guy says, like, why should we worry about something that's never going to? We should have that put on our money. It's that it personifies the Soviet, I should say Soviet, not Russian, but Soviet mentality of we are going to be successful. We will win. Everything is going to win. It is not it is the future that is certain. It's the past that keeps changing. It's the
they say will of the people. It's the will of the doctrine, will of the policy. Right. And therefore the will of the government, not the will of the people, because if you let people speak freely, which they're venting. There are people in the streets protesting, going, "No, this isn't real. So we're not in there as a security force."
All this, the Ukrainian invasion, is half Russia fucking up. Which newsflash, they always fuck up.
Yeah.
The other half of this is the badassness of the Ukrainians beating back this giant bear with a fucking stick, and I love it.
You know what? I gotta say, I knew almost nothing about Ukraine 2 weeks ago, just in general.
Yeah. Okay. Are you kidding? That's why we impeached the President Trump.
I mean,
but okay.
I knew Ukraine existed and it was a thing.
Yeah.
No,
we hated President Zelensky 2 years ago, and everyone's calling him a corrupt piece of shit.
No one hated him.
Everyone hated him because he's in cohorts with Trump, and we need to impeach Trump because Trump was talking to him on the phone and shit. Now all of a sudden he's a god.
Well, hold on. No one was mad at Zelensky. They were mad at Trump. Granted, Zelensky was a corrupt piece of shit, but they weren't like mad at him. They were
weird tangent aside.
Yes,
Sorry, weird tyrant. Sorry,
no,
sorry. Go ahead.
Even Zelensky aside, I forgot the guy's name. The former president of Ukraine. Even he is a fucking savage. This dude was like doing a live interview on the street with a fucking, I think it was an AK in his hand.
Shit.
And he's like, yeah, like I'm fucking here. Like we're doing this. Like, how about hypothetically if this were to happen in the States, and Biden's doing his thing, and even Trump came out with an AK. He's like, yeah, I'm here in Washington. I'm fighting next to Biden.
Fuck yeah.
Like it would be like, I don't like Trump. That would be dope.
Fucking hell.
But so yeah, you have the ex-president with an AK, and I think the reporter even said, "Do you even know how to use the AK?"
I'll figure it out.
Yeah, he was like, "That's awesome." Yeah, it's literally paraphrased.
It's literally almost what he said. I'll figure this shit out.
Awesome.
I think he said something like, "Well, in times like these, I'll work it out. There's people around me who can teach me.
Funny.
Like, I'll work it out."
Yeah.
And I was like, "Fucking savage."
See,
like,
now apply that to. It's going to be kind of hard because it's a 200-year jump, but apply that to 1800 United States. We just had this crazy revolution. We seceded from Britain. Yeah. At the time when the USSR fell in 89, 90, whatever, Ukraine became its own thing. So they're still pumped with that. There are people that's alive that still remembered that. So they're still pumped on revolution. And now the big bear wants to come back. Fuck you, dude. So that vitality, I guess, is the word for it, but it's very much alive. That rebellious.
You see that in Eastern Europe. That's ingrained in just kind of the population, because it's not really been peace, and it's amazing to experience that. We've kind of lost that in the United States leadership.
It's one thing I love, and because it so often gets miscommunicated as racism, I guess, nationalism, patriotism, to love where you live, and to have autonomy and a belief that you should decide your own life, and I love that. So that's why any kind of, like, when I went to England. I don't know if I told you last year. Yeah, I went to England. Okay. And my brother-in-law is a vicar in this town. And he is like just not like a, patriot, but like, he's like, no, I love my country. I love what they do. And I love where I'm from. And I have pride with where I'm from. And I'm like, dude, you're the coolest person ever. I love that. And, and I just love that kind of stuff. So to see Ukrainians fighting.
And you're right. It's, I think something that some people might overlook is that, so you might have been 15 when Ukraine became an independent country.
Yeah.
So you got to think, if you're 15 then, like, do the fucking math. You're maybe in your 40s now?
Yeah.
Maybe 50s? So you're still young enough to fight.
You still got it.
So Zelensky, I don't know how old he is, but he probably was a kid
Yeah.
when this happened.
Yeah.
So he remembers the spirit. He remembers that. And so that's why he's probably like, I'm fucking here.
Yeah.
Not going anywhere.
Where are you
Yeah,
going to
and
run
so-
to? I mean, yeah, and it is their country. And speaking, I'll get away from leadership. Let's get away from like leadership in this country. Let's focus on other groups in this country, because now you have an element that is invading another country, imposing their will on this other country. And we have fringe groups that claim to stand up for something like that, like Antifa, anti-fascists. Yeah. Hey, I got a cause for you, folks. Oh, let's forget about Afghanistan. But if you want to pick up a rifle rather than throw a rock through a Starbucks window, they're taking volunteers. And
I mean,
interestingly
I think they
enough,
said,
we haven't heard anything about that. Ain't that interesting? Or is it kind of?
Well, I read about that. I think they 6 Americans. I think it was 6, probably more now. It's a few days ago. I read something that like 6 Americans are on their way to Ukraine.
Makes
to fight
sense.
in Kiev.
Were they members of Antifa?
No, I think they're just some.
Were they members of BLM?
probably crazy white guys?
Probably ex-vets that are just, or not ex-vets.
Well, they can use
vets.
all the
They're-
help
they're the
they can
guys
get. They
The
can use
remake of
all
Red
help.
Dawn.
Yeah.
They're those guys.
Yeah,
We're just like,
yeah.
"All
The
right,
retired vets. What did they get? Recently unretired or something? Yeah.
What?
There's
What I
people in
like
England
to-
if you need a cause to fight for. And what's crazy, if you go on Vice like a year to 3 years ago, there's like fringe groups that just like Anarchy, they are pro-Ukrainian, but they were directly in contact with the separatists where they invaded Crimea, and they were just hanging out there in the no man's land with grenades, with laws and stuff
What?
like that. I venture to say they're probably all dead now. But it's very interesting.
the
But
balls.
You talk about people that fought for Ukraine but didn't want to be a part of the military.
Yeah. Well,
yeah.
what I love, I remember who was I was talking to somebody. I forgot who I was talking to, but we were talking about just the differences between different wars and the just different generations, and we kind of made a joke about it, and it was like there's been these jokes for years, and now it's coming to fruition to where the internet is just killing it right now with this war. Because what was it? There was a TikTok video that went viral of a Ukrainian young woman showing you how to work a Russian tank
That's
if you happen to
incredible.
steal one.
That is hilarious.
There's the viral video where someone from a distance was videotaping it, and a woman walked up to a Russian soldier
Yeah.
to give him a sunflower seed.
Yeah.
Did you see that, Eddie?
A handful
I
of
didn't.
sunflower seeds. Yeah.
So she handed him a handful. I'm paraphrasing. A handful of sunflower seeds, and he's like, "Thank you." And she's like, "Yeah, so take these. So when your body is buried, a sunflower will grow from your corpse."
nice.
It was fucking bad.
And it's like, holy shit! Like,
Yeah.
And then there was one where like the dude rolled up on a tank, a Russian tank that
Yep.
broke down.
Yeah.
And he's like, "You guys need a tow back to Russia?" Like, and it's just
That's
like,
ballsy.
No,
this
That's-
is it's such a weird take on a war now. Because imagine World War II in the 40s, or even Vietnam, any of these wars, and now like people on the ground fighting are memeing it, or like making the internet jokes of it.
Yeah.
Which, as a dark humor person, I love.
Yeah.
But it was very interesting seeing these things.
Well, there was the Ukrainian military guy. I don't know if he was part of the Ukrainian Navy or what, but he was on that that island, and the Russian warship like was
legend.
broadcasting at him, and the story was that the Russian boat or warship was telling them, "Hey, surrender. We're going to blow you all up. Just lay down your arms, whatever." And the Ukrainian soldier responded back, "Russian warship, go fuck yourself." Mm-hmm. The story was that they got bombed and they all died. Turns out, I think they're actually still
They
alive.
lived. I heard.
And it's
So,
that
but-
little press. That's what started the galvanization of the Ukrainian people. Just
Yeah. Little
it's better
stories
to,
like
it's better
that.
to die standing than to live on your knees. And then
Yes.
that went viral all over the world. And
And then what was it? The Ghost
well,
of Kiev.
Yeah, the ghost,
That
the
story.
pilot, the
Yeah.
right,
yeah,
the
who
ace
supposedly
pilot,
shot down 5, but that wasn't verified, or has it been verified, or
Well,
I
it was like 6, because to be an ace, you have to shoot down 5. I think is what qualifies an ace pilot. But yeah, and it's unconfirmed as to whether it's one or more. It might be a few, and everyone that's reporting on it is like, well, it doesn't matter if it's a few. The point is, it's the story, and it's getting people riled up, and it's
yeah.
getting people united and strong.
Well, I think the most recent story, and this is not confirmed, excuse me, is that he was shot down, but he ejected.
Oh, okay.
So he's back
Oh, nice.
back in
Okay,
the
yeah,
air,
kicking
apparently.
ass. Sweet.
Yeah, it's very interesting seeing this because you hear stories about it, but seeing it live. Because what do they say? A conscripted army is at fault. That's why the United States stopped the draft. Because
Yeah.
if you're forced to go fight, you're not
Yeah.
going to want to fight.
Right.
And that's what I was reading today, that a large portion of the Russian army are conscripts. Now you have the conscripts invading a country, so they have no stakes in it. They don't even want to be there.
Right.
Then a country who's defending themselves
Has got
Yeah.
everything going.
There's a lot more
Yeah,
motivation.
Yeah.
so you have even a civilian army
Yeah.
who's motivated.
Yeah.
Like it's gonna crush I mean, granted, if they have the numbers, then it doesn't matter.
To speak to that, I heard an interview in the first few days of the invasion when it was actually kicking off, and President Zelensky was on the air saying, you know what, get a gun, fuck you, let's light some shit up, and the United States even like sent a message to Zelensky saying, "Hey, we can evacuate you. You know, would you like us to come evacuate you?" And he responded, I need ammunition, not a ride."
Yeah.
And so he's telling people to fight. He like issued the right to bear arms, essentially. Like he told he's like, "Hey, women, children, old people, get out. Every able-bodied man, stay here and fight," kind of thing. Well, I heard on the interview on the radio this interview with his former colonel who expressed a kind of like dislike for Zelensky because of that. His point basically was, you're telling civilians to get guns and fight in a war where there's other trained military. It's going to lead to a lot of unnecessary death and unnecessary violence. And it reminded me of the Revolutionary War when England versus America, and there was a lot more guerrilla combat with American soldiers hiding, and they weren't meeting the British on the field the way they're supposed to. This is how wars should be fought, and you're not doing it right. Fight us correctly. It kind of sounded like that, don't tell your people to pick up arms and fight against this invading army. Do it the right way. Let the adults take care of
How
it.
would
Let
you
the
like
trained
us to
military.
fight? They're not in your country. They're in ours.
Right.
You should
And
go
I
over there,
remember
show us how it's done.
and I remember initially listening to this guy, and my first thoughts were, go fuck yourself. What are you talking about? If another country came in, everybody who loves where they live should get up and fight if they want to. Die standing up, like you said. But the more I thought about it, I'm like, okay, I kind of see where he's coming from. I don't know.
I think it's one. Can you grab me a beer?
Yes.
Mine's almost empty.
Yes.
It's easier to discern legal targets when everybody is in the war and is in the fight, and I think that's what he's trying to alleviate. But that being
Yeah.
said, somebody comes into your house. We haven't even gotten to the horrors of wars yet,
Yeah.
And because the phone is prohibiting that, you're going to be held accountable. You rape somebody, they're going to find out one way or another. Especially
I mean,
these days.
I do
that
see-
hasn't started yet.
And he's probably coming from a point where he's probably dealt with both desert storms. And when they're fighting an ideology, not a military, which is what a lot of Desert Storm was.
Most of the Middle East fights were like that.
Right.
Yeah.
It was people fighting because of an ideology. It wasn't a military. We weren't killing, the Cat Williams has this great joke. Is like, we're not fighting. Go ahead and tell me what the Iraqi uniform looks like.
Yeah.
Go ahead, I'll wait. Because we're not fighting military, we're fighting the people. And we don't call them that, we call them insurgents or whatever.
Yeah.
So he's probably coming from a lot of that, thinking, he's seen terrorists hiding behind pregnant women, throwing bombs at you. You don't want that. You want a good, clean military fight.
A fight gets out of control really quick,
Yeah, here's what I'll say. So, metaphor, at the bar we've had fights, breakout, and there's some fights where, if it's a small one-on-one or even a two-on-two, when I was bartending, I would jump from behind the bar, security would get involved, and 9 out of 10 times, 7 out of 10 times, if regulars who loved us wanted to step in and help,
Oh, okay.
and I would say, get the fuck away because you're gonna make it worse because
Yeah.
you're not uniformed, you don't work here.
Oh, okay.
Someone might look at you and just think that you're just trying to fight.
Yeah, okay.
But there have been times that 3 out of 10 times where the fight becomes so potent and so erratic that we're outnumbered.
Oh, okay.
We need help.
Yeah.
It has happened to where regulars have stepped in and really helped us out. So I understand what he's saying, but at the same time, kind of think Revolutionary War, perfect example. the Patriot movie with Mel Gibson.
Good historical documentary.
That's a movie
so
I haven't
accurate.
seen.
You have not seen so many movies, Eddie. It blows
Yeah.
my mind. You can reference shit that is so I'm tangenting here, but so underground and so unique, artist like amazing shit. But you haven't seen The Patriot?
No,
What the fuck?
I
Have you seen?
I still haven't
Have you
seen
seen
Gone with the
Titanic?
Wind.
Well, Patriot, it's a fun movie to watch. It's not historically accurate at all, but
Still haven't seen
anyway.
The Elf.
It's just Elf. That was amazing.
Well, there we
anyway,
go. Who
no.
are
So,
the
but
nerds
even
in the
I think
room?
this part's true that citizens or civilians
Right.
would sign up and be guided by militaries.
Militia.
Yeah,
That's what-
militia.
Right.
So I think we don't see what's on the ground right now. Now I said I'm willing to bet earlier. I'm willing to bet more money than earlier that we already have CIA agents on the ground
Yeah.
in Kiev.
Yeah. Yeah.
Conducting shit. So I get like if it was just like, hey everybody, grab your rifles and go fucking ape shit.
Yeah.
I'd be like, oh, hold on.
yeah.
But you know that they're not just doing their own thing. Like even if our CIA guys are not there, Ukrainian officers are like, okay, you guys want to fight? Come with me. Let me tell you what to do.
Mm-hmm.
Like they're organized to be this resistant. That's not just chaos. That is organization.
That is a
to it.
resistance. That is a rebellion.
They-
Even if
They're
at the
getting a lot
very
of
least,
help.
like you guys go over there. Yeah.
And another thing that could be stalling the Russian military, I mean, they're known for cyber warfare, but they ain't the only ones doing it. If you get involved in their signal intelligence and what have you, and certain units can't talk to each other for whatever reason, because the radios don't work or it's too staticky, or, you got channels that just don't work, or...
I heard that Anonymous recently hacked something
Yeah.
about
Oh
it.
yeah, sites. They went into the the Ministry of Defense, downloaded their database of certain personnel, and then just put it on the internet. Here's their email.
Wow.
You want to call them? They took down
That's so rad.
RT.com, Russian, Russian television. I guess that's what it stands for. But their
think something like
propaganda,
that.
the Russian tilted leaning. Their narrative, what the Russian government wants you to hear and wants you to believe, you can get to the .com site, or no, you can't get to the .com site. It's still playable. I did go to the YouTube site, and it was so funny to hear them haranguing. What about free speech? Aren't we entitled to hear everybody's opinion? And it's like, you're not doing that for your own people. You're bullshitting everybody.
No, absolutely.
You're putting people in jail, and you're telling the rest of the world, what about free speech?
Yeah.
Assholes.
My favorite cyber attack so far, and maybe you guys know where I'm going with this. A certain website has blocked all users from Russia. Pornhub.
Really?
Apparently.
But yeah, that makes sense. That's
I mean, I don't have proof because I'm not from Russia, so I don't know if it blocks or not. But apparently, Pornhub was like, "Fuck Russia,"
yeah.
Wow.
and blocked all users from Russia from.
So, no, I mean, I
I have a hard time that that's
fuck
like
it, I
they're
will.
going to be their only source of porn, though. It's like just knowing
Weird
Russia.
thing to think about. Weird thing to think about. Twitter blocked President Trump because he said something they didn't like.
Mm-hmm.
President of Russia account is still active right now.
Interesting.
Yeah, Putin doesn't have an account. President of Russia has an
Oh, I
account.
see what you mean.
So, just something to think about. Whatever.
Yeah,
Trump was
so-
way
yeah,
worse
so
than the
as the
president.
fake philosophers, let's send a message to Twitter. Hey, how come in this instance, but not in this instance?
You want to find a double standard in Silicon Valley? Wow, you're going to find a needle in a stack of needles. You know, it's
No, yeah, that,
but anyway, I just thought that was fun. And it's one of those little side comments that never really, so I apologize. It doesn't accomplish anything. We're like, oh, Trump got blocked, but Putin didn't. Interesting. Oh, whatever.
That's a good.
My
that is a good
first
point,
thought to
though.
that
It's a double
was-
standard.
it is a double standard. My first thought to that was, I don't know why, I was like, President of Russia has a fucking Twitter account.
Yeah, right, yeah.
That was my first thought. I was like, what?
No, their last tweet, the last tweet was 9 hours ago. It says, congrats to the new president of Armenia or something like that. So
It's probably
We
just-
know where his
it's
mind
automized.
is. Because I know the rest of us, that's what we were thinking about. Celebrating that new Armenian president.
Congratulations to the president. of
Yeah.
yeah, it's like, whoa,
Hey,
of
let's
course.
celebrate
That's
by
what,
Title
shelling a
episode.
nuclear
All those-
power plant.
all those people in Lithuania are like, yeah, but what about Armenia? God damn it. Like,
Titled episode. Congrats to Armenia.
congrats to Armenia.
Yeah, wow.
So here's something that I would be interested, Eddie, especially your take on, but also you, Mitch, because you're here. So I was talking with a buddy of mine, and I guess early on, was it Lithuania, Estonia, and what was the other in the Balkans there?
There's Bulgaria.
Not Bulgaria. Anyway, those countries, kind of ex-USSR countries that are along
Georgia.
the border.
No, Georgia's
Not
still part of Russia, right?
It was Lithuania, Estonia,
Latvia.
Latvia, and maybe even Poland. There was like rumors that they were like mobilizing their troops. The rumors to actually go into Ukraine and join the fight.
Wow. Okay.
They haven't yet. And the idea was, and I was talking to a buddy of mine, and we were just, this is all just anecdotally talking about it. So obviously the U.S. can't get directly involved militarily because then that would just fucking escalate everything.
For a
and it would
lot
be
of
a
reasons.
fucking nightmare. But if these certain countries all kind of said, like, we're part of NATO, we get it,
We're going in unilaterally.
but we're going to sign off that you do not get involved. We're NATO countries, but you don't interfere. So these ex-USSR countries go into Ukraine and fight it. It would be kind of like what we were discussing was that would be good. For instance, and we don't have to get into the politics of it, but a theory was with Trump, for instance, a lot of people said Republicans should bring him down, not Democrats. Because then it's like Republicans, if Republicans do it, it's them taking down their own person. They're doing the quote-unquote right thing. That, all your thoughts of that aside, that was a theory.
Yeah.
Same thing with these Eastern European countries.
Right.
If they all banded together
Right.
and fought Russia,
Fought Putin.
and the West doesn't get involved, granted they're NATO countries, what kind of message would that send the world?
Right.
And that was something that like I said, me and my buddy discussed, and I was like, if they did that, because apparently from what I read, 83% of Russia's military force is in Ukraine right now. 83%. And they're struggling. So if these other countries sent in, just like I said, even though they're NATO, they say NATO, don't get involved.
Right.
Just us right here, we're going to do shit.
Right.
Could that send a positive message of like, we're ex-USSR countries and we're stepping up for our boy?
Right.
And because they're struggling already. 83% of their military, they're struggling. If these other countries sent their shit in
Yeah.
and started fucking shit up.
Yeah. That's interesting.
It was just a
that would
theory.
not
Like, it
be
was just us
positive at all.
discussing.
There would be nothing
You don't
to
think so?
gain from that. No. Because a parallel to that is during the Gulf War, Saddam Hussein really wanted to get Israel involved, started firing Scuds. Israel had pilots sitting in planes, ready to go, 24/7 for that green light, waiting for that green light. And Bush said, we'll take care of it. We got this. Do not get involved. Because what happens if Israel gets involved? Even though they're getting Scuds rained down on them, it becomes a much bigger, much more political, much more ideological fight. And
So make sure I understand. If in that example Israel got involved, are you insinuating that like maybe Iraq, Afghanistan, other countries would have then
every
been like, all right,
other
well, fuck.
Arabic state now has an excuse.
So to connect it, you think if that happened, Belarus,
China.
Georgia, maybe China, other countries then be like, all right, well then we're gonna fight back too.
If everybody's doing their own thing, yeah. Right now we're solid. We're a single unit, and we got to stay that way. Because if people start going in
see your point.
unilaterally, there can be just some damage control, but it's not. The juice isn't worth the squeeze. And plus,
Interesting. Okay.
Russia does have those firecrackers. So, and Putin in his weakness has to let us know that. And then once you have one exchange, even if it's a tactical exchange, even if it's something reasonable, you've let that genie out of the bottle. And that's just an excuse. And you just don't want those excuses. And he might not even need an excuse. So if these countries go in unilaterally, I can see the spirit, and I can see where that ideology is coming from. Doesn't.
I see what you mean. So right
doesn't
now
help.
it's technically a 1-on-1. So if it became a 5-on-1, then it would become a 5-on-4, and it would just be a fucking mess. I get your point. That's a fair point.
It becomes politically just the worst thing you're ever going to see.
Well, here's another point then that kind of goes back to the level of involvement America or rest of NATO in general, or everybody in general gets involved in. Is we talked a little bit about this earlier, was the fire at this nuclear power plant. We saw with Chernobyl disaster, fallout doesn't stop at the border.
Yeah.
It keeps going. We've seen now with Russia's or Ukraine, where it's unclear as to who exactly started the fire or what caused it, we're seeing negligence and a lot of irresponsibility with the shelling, and now because we now have a fire at a nuclear power, not just a nuclear power plant, the biggest nuclear power plant in all of Europe. This is a fucking problem.
Yeah.
And now the rest of Europe is like, holy shit. Now fallout is going to be affecting all of us, whether we get involved or not. Right.
What
so
the fuck?
where do we decide, okay, enough, we need to get involved? Because now it's not about picking sides. It's about it's just about preventing a horrible disaster.
That's another slippery slope. That is another huge slippery slope. And
It's
there's
a
not
slippery
an easy
slope.
Go freaking fix that power plant ASAP. That's what needs to happen.
When I got here, I pulled up in my truck. I was listening to the news as I got here. The last report was Ukrainian officials begging people to stop fighting so they can get in, and so because apparently the fighting is so fierce around this fire that the firefighters can't get in to put out the fire, so they're
Unreal.
begging people to stop.
Give us 3 hours.
Jesus fucking Christ! Are you serious? Are you serious? So right now, America's looking at that. Okay, I say America as just anyway.
That's the Western
imagine-
world. Yeah.
Germany. Okay, this is good. They're there. They're real close. They're looking at this shit like, oh my god, if we don't step in, this is going to affect us now. So
Yeah.
we're going to have to pick a side here and get involed to save our own ass,
Oh,
because
that's terrible.
now it's a slippery slope if they use it as an excuse. Because I can see a country saying, "Oh, fallout. That's it. We're getting involved."
That's legitimate.
What?
Too. That's far
We
more
did it.
legitimate and far more an era of self-preservation, a spirit of self-preservation, than frickin' going in unilaterally. Going in unilaterally to not get radiated and not have a nuclear cloud, that's much more feasible.
Right.
That still carries those consequences if both sides don't agree.
So that's why I'm saying I know what you're saying
that's
about.
sticky.
That's why I'm saying I know what you're saying about a slippery slope. I don't think that applies to stopping a second Chernobyl.
I mean,
Yeah, it's not going to stop the second Chernobyl. They just got to stop freaking shooting each other and go, okay, wait. And
Time out.
Ukraine
time out.
wants that anyway. And if Russia just gets the hell out, which they're not going to do, and those troops are being affected, when those troops start glowing or start dying of radiation sickness, is that what needs to happen? Is this problem
think
going to
it would-
solve itself? You know?
a dark humor thing. It would be kind of funny if like the UN was like, look, we're sending in fucking people to go fix this goddamn nuclear plant. Whoever is there is getting shot.
Well,
Ukraine
if the UN had a military, then yeah.
Of course, but my point is like, if they're just like, we're not taking a side.
Right.
We're sending people in to fix this fucking plant.
Yeah.
Whoever is there.
Yeah.
Like, the Ukrainians are gonna be like, all right, bye.
But yeah.
But it's kind
No,
of,
so that
That is
blossomed
crazy.
today. So it was true up until as of a few hours ago. Up until a few hours ago, the general consensus was Putin's just going to keep going and just keep laying waste. But now all of a sudden there's this third factor that's going to be like, holy shit, you know. So it'll be interesting to see in the next day or two.
Well, we're
This-
waiting on him anyway. You know, it's
This
like
might be the fig tree that Putin was looking for. I need to stop and retreat, or else it's a second Chernobyl, and he goes out looking like the good guy.
Yeah, he does.
that's, yeah, like I said earlier.
If he takes that route, he's got just the best. He's got a diamond-studded off-ramp right now.
Fuck.
And yeah, he
Putin's
can
gonna-
look.
Putin's gonna
he can,
walk
he can,
away.
he can come out of this. He's going to come out of it with a bloody nose, maybe a couple scrapes, but you stop the war
like, "Hey,
because you want to say
had to
we
stop
screwed up.
because-"
Somebody screwed up. Nobody's going to take responsibility. It doesn't matter. Let's get a clear head. Let's fix this issue, and
I pray that
hope
that's
that
the
happens.
case.
Let's hope that
I really
happens.
hope that happens. Yeah.
that's a perfect.
Let's hope by
off-ramp.
the time this airs.
I still think we should air it today. I'm with Eddie on that.
Yeah, get it out. Get it out.
I got to edit it.
I don't give a shit.
Mitch
This
can
is
be-
the
Mitch
life-
can support you. He can like
This
bring another
is
beer.
the life we've chosen.
yes.
I'll see what I can do. See what I can do.
Not to go on Godfather 2.
The reactor's going to be fixed by then. I mean, come on. It's,
No, but you're right, because I even said it earlier. The logical thing, and I'm not saying Putin is logical, but the logical thing to do would be him to back out at this point.
Yeah.
Without looking like a complete asshole.
Right.
So you're right that this nuke situation, the nuclear plant, gives him that out without him looking weak.
Right.
we're
So
not
that-
we're just three people talking about it. There's a lot of people saying that too.
I really hope so.
I hope he hears that.
Yes.
Putin, if you're watching.
Any other points? Anyone?
I think we hit them all.
I think we hit them all. That's a good point to end it. Yeah, there is a way out.
I think so, too.
There's a way out.
Yeah,
I
is.
didn't expect this to end with hope, but geez, yeah. Let's hope.
I agree.
Yeah, we're not like...
Alcohol makes me optimistic.
Wish more people were like that.
All right, so what are you doing now?
Hey, Eddie, give us a good little 30-second sign off for Eddie's thoughts. Those little like solo videos you took. You did a couple of them.
That we began the podcast with. Yes,
those were great. But give us a good little 30-second sign off before we say goodbye.
A good 30-second sign off. It's
or
really
a minute
grim.
or a minute.
Or a minute. It's really grim, the situation we're in right now. There's a lot of light being made out of it, because we're not there. We're not seeing refugees. We're not seeing blood. Nobody's invading us. And if we were in Russia, we don't see our friends coming home in boxes and what have you. And it's really frustrating. This is a power grab, just kind of the last throes of the Cold War coming back to haunt us. And let's hope cooler heads prevail. I do leave optimistic because I think, if we want to shut the war down, let's shut the war down because there's a freaking nuclear emergency, or are we going to have poison troops and poison kids and what have you? So I guess my final thought is it's going to be grim if it continues because it's going to become another Syria, and let's hope these logical heads, as both of you have indicated, prevail, and we can see a ceasefire and we can get a better resolution than shooting each other.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect.
There we go.
Thanks, Eddie.
Cool.
All right.
My
Well,
pleasure.
everyone, thanks for listening. If you listen this long, we'll see you next time.
See you next time. Outro.